This is the first in our series of 6 meditation classes for Yoga Mendocino, and I'd like to say a couple of things before we go into any particular details about meditation practice in particular. First of which is that obviously we're Buddhists, and this is Buddhist meditation techniques that we're talking about. But the idea of these meditation classes and the principle of meditation practice, certainly within the Buddhist fold anyway, is that it's not intended to be something that's just solely useful or pertinent to people of the Buddhist faith, but these are simple tools and techniques that we as human beings can use to help make our lives be more peaceful, to help us understand ourselves and others a little better, and to live more harmoniously with the world around us. So hopefully that anything that is said during this series of classes is useful to everybody. There's no assumption that in anything that I say that it's directed towards trying to convince people that Buddhism is right, wanting to make you all into Buddhists, or to cause you to waver in your faith, maybe as in Christianity or Judaism or whatever it might be. So that really our intent here with these classes is simply to put out some methods, techniques, principles that one can apply within the sphere of one's life, whether you're a humanist, a Christian, a communist, a Buddhist, or whatever. It makes absolutely no difference, really, certainly from our side, what anyone's faith is. These are simply just a set of methods, principles that we can use, that is possible for us to employ and make our life better. So if anything I say does come across in that way of say, assuming that Buddhism is better than everybody else, or that we're right and you're wrong, and we've got all the answers, then do stop me and let me know, because it's not the intention, and certainly I don't believe that to be the case, and I want to make as sure as possible that these classes are as accessible and welcoming for everybody. The second thing to say maybe is that people might have all sorts of ideas about what meditation is, and there can be a huge variety of different experiences and influences that we have that suggest meditation's about seeing into past lives, reading people's minds, making the mind go off into some sort of blissful realm, and inhabit some kind of wonderful etheric country while we take a break from our busy lives. All kinds of things of that nature, that it's going to give us sort of healing powers, or that it's going to enable us to fly or see visions, or to make ourselves into a kind of wonderfully glorious, interesting, attractive person who can dazzle people at cocktail parties. But and these are probably not the main reasons why most of you are coming to these classes and to listen to these teachings. But there can be a huge variety of, we sort of see the word meditation in books and magazines. We hear it talked about, discussed on Oprah Winfrey on the TV, and so we can get all kinds of impressions about what it's for, what it's about, how you do it, and so I thought, just to clarify, certainly from the Buddhist perspective and the tradition that I'm trained in, that meditation is not really about those kind of cosmic effects, if you like. It's certainly there are experiences that people have, or abilities that some people are said to have, where they do learn to concentrate the mind in such a way that visions arise, or people able to read other people's minds and so forth. But my own teacher was vehement in encouraging everyone to not be interested in that kind of stuff, but really just to see meditation in the way that the Buddha intended it to be used, which was to help us to develop qualities of peacefulness and clarity, to learn how to understand our own lives, and to learn how to live harmoniously with the world. So it's a lot more prosaic and a lot more practical than some of the other motivations that might exist. So really that's the intent behind these classes, and also what we mean when we use the word meditation is this blend of qualities of peacefulness and wisdom, understanding that these are the key essential or central elements of the whole thing, and that we're really not aiming at any kind of special abilities or not making any promises that after these 6 classes you'll be sort of more beautiful, radiant, attractive, debt-free individuals, but more that we will perhaps understand our lives a little better, be able to live a little more in peace with our days, get along with our families and those that we work with in a better way, and to wake up to the way life actually is, the whole fundamental nature of life as it is formed, as it takes shape around us and within us, that there will be an understanding and therefore a harmonization with that life. So that's what we really mean by meditation, is what we're using the word to refer to. Also because this is a kind of Mendocino sort of class. It's not everyone sign up at the beginning and pay your money and you better be there for the course of training kind of class. It's more Mendocino, come as you are, show up if you want to, freewheeling kind of a class, so that each of these sessions, the 6 sessions that we have, there's something of a progression that's designed into them, the different themes that we'll try to talk about as each class takes shape. Should be one linking onto another in a fairly neat chain, but also each class can stand on its own, ideally, so that it's a lesson in its own right. So if you have to miss a couple along the way, then you won't have, say, lost the crucial piece. It's not like missing 3 chapters from a novel and losing the plot entirely. Ideally, each of the individual sessions stands alone and will bring its own lessons and in its own instruction and its own helpful qualities, and that if you have to miss a few, then you can just certainly begin again where you left off, and nothing enormous will be lost. Besides, everything's being taped so that things can be picked up and listened to later on if you like to. Well, the theme for this first class that we have is posture and focus. And so, obviously, the first class we want to deal with the fundamentals and the foundation. And so, really, these elements are talking about the main beginning point for meditation practice. And so that as one might have got the impression, reading about meditation or hearing about it, thinking of it, that it's something to do simply with the mind. I mean, you often see, nowadays, more and more sort of adverts of people sitting when they're there for selling Honda motor cars or advertising a shift in lifestyle towards something more wholesome or noble. You'll see people sitting with their eyes closed, cross-legged, and so that image has often got it's like a symbol for the meditation process. The cross-legged, closed-eyed yogi. But oftentimes when we think of meditation, we're thinking of it pretty much in terms of a mental activity, and so that it's a thing of the mind. And yet, any of you who have done any meditation before will realize that will have realized very quickly that as soon as you try to sit like the woman in the adverts, in that sort of upright, ever so attentive, beautifully balanced posture, that first of all your legs might have taken a lot of persuading to get into anything like the position that she's in, and also once your legs are across and you're holding your body upright, within a few minutes you can find that there's a protest coming from your knee joints or from your back or from your hip joints, and it becomes very apparent very quickly that your body is involved with the meditation, and it's not just something relating to the mind. So this is not sort of accidental or an unfortunate circumstance, at least from the traditional Buddhist perspective. But we're seeing right from the very beginning that the training that meditation involves both body and mind. So when we talk about posture, then it's not just referring to physical posture, but also to mental posture. And when we talk about focus, it's also involving both. And so that what I'll address this evening is by way of the introductory part before we go along to the guided meditation, is this element of posture as it relates both to body and to mind. Well, essentially what we, for both forms of posture, what we are looking towards is cultivating a quality of balance, balance of two particular elements. And these you can summarize, or one way of translating, referring to them, is that of energy or alertness and relaxation, calmness or peacefulness. So, say for example, for the meditation posture, the reason why you see people sitting in the pictures or statues, or say in a Buddha image like we have here, the Buddha sitting cross-legged, back upright, is that this has been found to be one of the ideal ways to help develop these qualities of calmness and wisdom and attention, and a balance of these qualities of energy and relaxation. So that what we find is that when we look at the body and the mind, that if we are say too energized, if we're very charged up, we're very excited, the mind is very revved up because of some particular reason, it's very excited or very interested, very alert, it's usually because of something that is frightening, or something that is exciting, something that is irritating. So that usually that quality of arousal or attentiveness, alertness, it's brought about by some kind of emotionally charged stimulus, and so that we tend to look upon, say, being energetic, with the mind being alert and energized, or as being something that has an emotional charge to it. And in relaxation, we tend to look upon as being where we're sort of flopped in our armchair, and it's a sort of a lazy Sunday afternoon, and we're got our feet up, and maybe there's some sort of music playing in the background or a TV going off in the distance. You're not really paying attention. The mind is sort of dozing and drifting, and we're completely relaxed, or out on the beach, and there's an almost an intrinsic implication of sort of being half conscious, or being not quite with it, or being half asleep. That's how we relax, is we switch off. So from the Buddhist perspective, what we're trying to do is find that quality of being, that quality of mind and body, where these elements of relaxation and energy are more in balance with each other. Now, it's something that is, say, a principle of Buddhism, or what you find when you investigate, when you look at your mind. When we learn to calm the mind and look into its nature deeply, and the mind becomes more and more clear and more peaceful, and the attention is attuned to the reality of the present much more acutely. Briefly, the more and more clearly we see the way things are, the more we recognize that the fundamental nature of mind is intrinsically both completely awake and completely peaceful, simultaneously. The two do not occlude each other, and they are qualities that can exist simultaneously. So it kind of goes against our common sense in some ways, or our sort of maybe our habitual experience. Or either you're alert or you're relaxed. You've got to be one or the other. But the fact is that when we look at the mind's true nature, we look very, very closely and hold the attention on the real fundamental nature of mind at the bottom. When we look, lo and behold, what we experience is the fact that, wow, the mind is both completely alert, utterly attentive, wide awake, not sleepy in the slightest, but yet completely peaceful. Wow, look at that. Now, at the moment, obviously, people are just coming off the street, and some of you are totally new to meditation, totally new to Buddhism, so that I just put this out there, as something of a sort of article of faith or a suggestion that that's what some people have found. So, you don't have to believe anything that I say, but the whole spirit of these classes is for people to take what is said and experiment and find out for themselves. But to take it for the time being as a sort of working hypothesis, like, okay, well, maybe if that's the case, okay, let's put that in as a possibility, and then work from there. So I'm not sort of requiring you to believe this, but just, okay, take this suggestion and let's sort of hold that in place for the time being. So that when we are looking towards the physical posture, then and maybe it's easier to sort of grasp that principle or feel that principle being valid on a physical level, because we find the same thing exactly pertains. So that many of you here are yoga students of Yoga Mendocino, the students of Mary, Pafford, Maggie, and the others, and so I've done some Hatha yoga, and so you already have something of a natural sense for what I'm talking about here, because what we find when we say cross our legs, close our eyes, and bring attention into the body, is that we find there is also that way where we can hold the body in an upright way. The spine is held quite straight. So that there's a sort of upright, kind of dignified quality to the posture. The base of the spine is pulled in slightly. The chest is opened up a little. The eyes are gently closed. There's an energeticness, but we're not holding the back sort of rigid and poker-like. So if we've got a bolt of electricity going up through us, or we're just been dunked into icy water, so that we're sort of rigid and tense. There's an uprightness, but yet within that uprightness, within that kind of stretching of the posture, or like with any yoga pose, when you put the body goes into the pose, and then you find that once you sort of assume that sort of pose through a sort of a decision or muscular effort, then once the pose is there, almost like a kind of a sculptor's mold, that you then can relax within that, almost like that posture, that pose being the framework, and then within that, then we find that we can soften the body. So kind of the opposite way that you would have for say a potter pouring in the wet plaster of Paris into the mold and then it going hard. It's kind of the opposite way. We start out with the contents hard, and then we relax within that, so that we find that there can be an extraordinary sort of softness and ease within the body, even though it's held in this kind of firm and steady, upright posture. So that there's these elements of energy and relaxation that we find balance with each other. And if we try and figure it out with our brain, then maybe we can't understand it, or it doesn't make sense. But then if we feel it with our body, we can recognize, oh yeah, there's a kind of a way that, yeah, I am wide awake, the body is alert, is energized, but oh yeah, I can relax. And it doesn't mean then to relax the posture, or relax within the posture means that I sort of flop over, my spine bends, my nose is on the carpet, and I crumple into a heap. It's like, oh no, there's a way that the framework of the posture can sustain itself, and then within that there's an ease, a relaxation, and a softening. Oh, look at that. So again, in the spirit of these classes, what we're aiming to do is to simply have a set of suggestions we put out there, and we'll have a period of guided meditation shortly where people can experiment with this for themselves, and you can see for yourselves how this works. But also just to see intuitively, does that feel right? Do you have some experience of that? Does that ring any bells? And so you can probably recognize, oh yeah, that's true. You can kind of be both alert and awake, but yet at ease. Oh yeah, right, I can feel that. And then as we begin to sort of discover that quality in the body, then maybe that also helps to lead us into discovering that and establishing that in relationship to the mind. Because what we do, with meditation, in a way, we start out in these sort of slightly forced or contrived ways. We think about meditation, or we kind of decide to put the body into a posture, or we are trying to be concentrated or trying to be peaceful. And but yet it's also important to understand that you're not trying to sort of create some kind of unnatural state. That really what we're doing is we're bringing these outer aspects of our life, say our body and our the superficial mind. We're trying to bring those into alignment with what is our fundamental nature, so that it's not trying to say make the essence of the mind become peaceful or become alert. It's like that's from the Buddhist perspective, say that's already the case. It is already utterly peaceful, utterly pure, utterly awake, and we're simply trying to bring the external conditions into alignment with that fundamental true reality of our nature. It's always been that way. It's always been awake and alert and peaceful, and wise and kind. But yet those qualities get occluded, get covered over and obscured by the flow of our days and our activities, and waking and sleeping and engaging with others and all the 10,000 things that we do. But so this is the basic principle that we're looking at in meditation, is we're not trying to create something special. We're not trying to get to a special state, but in a way uncovering what's always been here, what is always here. And again, I don't ask people just to sort of take this on faith, but maybe this is something that during the course of these classes we can discover for ourselves, that indeed that when we look and see, when we search within ourselves, and the meditation enables us to calm down, focus the attention on the present. This is what we discover, that over and over again we look and see, oh look, there's this quality of peace and of clarity here within the heart, that's underlying everything, that's always was always present. It's and by seeing that over and over again, then the faith in that reality arises on its own. You don't have to have me or somebody else convincing you. It's just the fact that, oh yeah, look, I see for myself. Whenever the mind is not caught up in wondering about the future, recreating the past, planning, the shopping list, or reworking my plans for the next holiday. When I pay attention to the moment and relax and see clearly, what's here is peacefulness, purity, wakefulness, and a kind of bright, radiant quality to the heart. Oh, look, there it is. So that just through the evidence of our own experience, slowly and slowly and slowly seeping through, trickling through the whole system, until finally we begin to see and trust that for ourselves. That, oh yeah, underneath this all, there is this pure, radiant, peaceful quality. So one of the other things in terms of posture, and particularly to do with mental posture, is the sort of the attitude with which we try to work with the mind. And again, those of you who've done any small amounts of meditation or large amounts of meditation up till now will know that it's very easy because the idea of peace and clarity might be deeply attractive. Oh, it'd be great to just get my mind to sort of slow down and shut up and be peaceful. That'd be marvelous. I could do with some serenity in my life. But then when we do, then we find that the mind is chattering away and kind of proliferating about this, that, and the other, recreating the past, planning the future, opinionating about everything else. And so that it can easily fall out that we start to create a war with our own mind. That there's me, the meditator, trying to be peaceful, and then there's this sort of chattering maniac that just won't shut up, that keeps commentating about everything. And so that we can develop unconsciously this sort of combative attitude towards our mind, that the thinking mind and our stray emotions and reactivity becomes the enemy, and so that we're trying to make the mind shut up and behave, and we can unconsciously drift into a very sort of draconian or authoritarian, sort of fascist mentality towards our own mind. So maybe we're a sort of a card-carrying, eco-friendly, Mendocino resident, a paid-up pacifist and tree hugger, like most of us here in this county, and yet ever so dedicated to harmlessness and peacefulness and kindness on the sort of social and political level. But then when we come to dealing with our own minds, then out come the nightsticks and the jackboots and the kind of repression program. And so I'm kind of elaborating or exaggerating this a bit, but I think probably most of us know what I mean. That we can get very contentious, and meditation can therefore become very stressful. We thought, well, I was quite peaceful before I tried to meditate, and now there's this whole kind of battle going on. So it's very important when setting out to try and calm the mind, to bring attention to the present, to develop these qualities of relaxation and focus and energy, that we are working with our mind and our body in a very collaborative way, that we're not setting them up as that which we're sort of trying to force to behave as we choose. So any of you who have had children or work with children, or you teach in schools, or you work with animals. I grew up on a farm riding horses. And so, that if you try and force a pony or a horse to behave, to do what you want it to do, you're pretty much bound to end up on the floor very quickly. Or, anyone who's trying to bring up children or teach children, or train, a dog or a cat, as soon as you get kind of forceful and belligerent and kind of domineering, that pretty soon it ends up in a very stressful state. There's tears very quickly, and as a tense and painful relationship develops, everybody loses. In short, you might get some obedience, you might get some kind of you force some control or some the child or the dog or the horse or whatever to sort of do what you want for a little while. There's a certain begrudging compliance. But then as soon as your back's turned, or as soon as there's an opportunity, then they'll totally go against you, and the system will crack. And anyway, you're feeling miserable, and they're feeling miserable because of the tension that's being created through the aggressive interchange. So, and as probably most of you who've done this kind of thing have realized that, but there's a big difference when we work collaboratively, when you are collaborating with your children to help them to use the potty, or to learn how to write, or to follow the rules of the house, to clean up after themselves. Or with an animal, you work with its tendencies, and you guide it, you train it with love. We certainly use persistence and strength, but you're coming from a place of basic affection and love and cooperation. You're coming from a quality of kindness and not just force, because within Buddhism, it's a very much a standard principle that the way that we do things is unified completely with the result that we get, that the means and the end are unified, so that if you use a forceful or violent, aggressive kind of domineering means, then you're going to get a painful, stressful end. It's necessarily the case. The cause and the effect are tied to each other. So when we work with the mind, certainly we work with effort, with energy, with persistence, but we're working with the grain of the mind. We're working with the kind of qualities that are there from a fundamentally affectionate and collaborative attitude, that the mind is our friend and not just the opponent that has to be sort of beaten into submission. Now, in terms of meditation techniques, then, and I talked a little bit about posture. So the basic meditation posture that we tend to use is sitting with the body upright, whether you're on a chair, or stool, or sitting cross-legged, or kneeling, whatever way is you want to is convenient. People whose knees don't comply with the idea of going cross-legged, fine. Sitting on a chair is fine. Sitting on a stool is fine. The main thing is to be finding a posture where you can sit still for, say, a half hour or so. And the main thing is to be attentive to is the spine being straight. So if you are in a chair, then don't lean against the back of the chair, but try and hold your body upright. And to use we use the spine as the kind of centerpiece of the sitting posture. That's the main focus of attention. So that it's like the axis of our world in the sitting meditation. It's sort of the central element around which all the rest revolves or is arranged, so that when we are say going to start a period of meditation, then the first thing to do is sit ourselves down and then just bring the attention into the body and feeling how the body is holding itself, and as we'll do in the guided meditation, just gently steer the body from the place where it's starting from, whether it's tension or heaviness or whatever, towards this quality of uprightness, and then an inner relaxation. And so then once we've spent a little bit of time focusing on the body, and usually, as I'll describe, we start by sweeping the attention through the body from the top of the head down to the feet and back up a few times, just to get acquainted with what the body's feeling. What do we bring into the room when we arrive? What sort of mood is the body in? What kind of posture is it holding? So starting with that raw material, then we use the loving attention of the meditation to help guide the body from that sort of raw material of how it's starting out towards this more refined, balanced, harmonious quality of the upright posture where there is energy and relaxation combined harmoniously with each other. Just as, like, say, with training a puppy to go and pee outdoors rather than inside, or training a child to how to write. You take the raw material of the child and their hand and the paper and the crayon, and then you just gently show how it's done, and then with that gentle patience and application, then we slowly train the body, starting with from that sort of raw, unformed state, to something that's more beneficial for all of us, for the body, for the mind, or for the child in the example. So there are many different ways of training the mind to focus. One of the, as I said many times so far this evening, the main point of meditation is training our attention to focus on the present moment. We kind of miss the fact sometimes that reality only happens here and now. That reality is only happening here in the present. The past is a memory, the future is an unknown. But here in the present is where life actually happens. But if we are sending our attention off into imaginary pasts and the imaginary future, then we're missing a lot of our life. So meditation is a lot about being here for our own life. And so that there are many meditation techniques. Most of them, in some way, shape, or form, employ a training of bringing the attention to the present moment. And so there's many ways that we can use to bring that about, what we would call in our Buddhist jargon meditation objects. So there are things that you can do. You can repeat a word like a mantra. You can say visualize an image. Some people have good visualization abilities, so they will bring up a particular, like a colored light or a shape, or sometimes we can use a physical feeling. There's meditations you can do just following that practice, which is what I was describing, sweeping the attention through the body for the whole half-hour period, just using the sensations through the body as a focal point. But probably the most commonly used and accessible and helpful focus of meditation practice, meditation object, is just the simple rhythm of our own breath. That there's no one here who doesn't breathe. We're all breathing people, and some of us might breathe more easily than others, but all of us are breathing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So the point of a meditation object being to help bring attention to the present. That having something that is always here, inarguably, invariably here, is helpful. So say if you have to remember a word, or you have to bring that up, or you have to create it, or you have to conjure up a light or something, then it's something that has to be generated. But the life of our own body generates the breath itself, so it's not something that we have to create. Also, it's not something that is attention-grabbing. It's not like if we all brought sort of copies of everyone's favorite magazines or favorite gripping spy novels, that we'd be attentive, but the attention would be a bit sort of scattered through the images and the plot and the turning of the pages, and so there's it can make us attentive to what we're doing or what's going on, but it's an attention that is not very peaceful. It doesn't conduce to peacefulness. So another of the reasons why the breath is helpful is because it's a simple object, it's calming, and it doesn't grab our attention. So in a way we have to make effort. There's a little bit of effort that we need to make in order to attend to the breath. It doesn't leap up and grab us like an advertisement or an interesting novel or some compelling music. It requires us to rouse the heart to attend, because it's not very gripping. If you imagine a TV program that was just somebody breathing. It's kind of like one of those Andy Warhol movies of somebody sleeping for 8 hours. Yeah, it's a certain kind of audience. It's appealing, but to most people, it's like, well, yeah, okay, first hour of the guy sleeping, that's it. What else is there to watch? So similarly, if we look at the breath, we might think, well, that's not very interesting. It doesn't grab our attention. But we find that just that the result of making that effort to attend to the simple, to the normal, to the familiar, to the peaceful, that serves us very, very well in helping to cultivate that quality of acute attention to the present moment in ordinary everyday things. So it means that when we train ourselves to attend to the peaceful, to the tranquil, that we are in a way steering away from that habit that we have of only really being attentive when we're frightened or excited or stimulated or lustful or full of irritation. That if it's not exciting and interesting, then we just sort of drift off into our own imagination and conjure up other dream worlds. So that by focusing on the breath, what we're doing is bringing that blend of ever-presence and simplicity and peacefulness into our attention. Just using that simple, natural feeling to be a focal point, just to say something to be an anchor for our attention. And then when the mind begins to settle on the breath, when there's a more of a focus, that there's a settling, then we can be a little less forced or rigid about it. But in the beginning, there has to be a picking up of the attention, sort of placing it on the breath, a kind of decision that we make. Okay, for this half hour, after I've got my body settled and that the posture is well established, okay, from now on, it's going to be my intention to focus on the breath. Now, it's also, there's different, certainly like in yoga, hatha yoga, and then its attendant practices, there are things like pranayama where you change the breath, you alter the breath in very particular ways, and also some kinds of meditation or relaxation techniques that might talk about breathing very deeply or very slowly, or changing the breath in different ways, or hyperventilating, connecting the breath together. And so there are all kinds of different things that we can do with the breath. Or there's also all sorts of symbolism that we can read into the breath, like some traditions or scriptures. You might read about the breath being that kind of rhythm of the universe, or it's just the cosmic wave of our own prana. But say from the Buddhist perspective of Buddhist meditation, we're not looking at the sort of cosmic symbolic aspects of the breath, or not trying to sort of bring about any sort of energetic effects with the breath. We're simply taking the natural rhythm of our breath as it happens to flow, whether it's short or long, deep or shallow, whether it's a fluid rhythm, or whether it sort of changes over and over. Well, however the breath happens to come, that's how we are taking it. That's how we use it. We just stay with it like that, and then let that rhythm, that feeling of all the different feelings of the body, we narrow the attention down to focus on that simple cluster of feelings, which is the breath, and then let the attention settle there. So then, again, we'll go through this in the guided meditation and over these classes, but just to give a bit of an outline of how it works. So the mind can be very agitated, the mind can be quite peaceful or calm down quite quickly. There's no controlling that. There's no sort of hard and fast rule. People vary, situations vary, moods vary. But with practice and with time, usually what people find is the more that we train the attention to settle with the breath, then sure enough, that becomes more and more easy to do. Once you sort of try to make the effort to develop a skill, then surely just the application and persistence, the repetitiveness with which we sort of pick that up and try and teach ourselves it, then it slowly sinks in, and we begin to train the heart to be attentive more and more clearly just to the natural flow of the breath. And so that we find that after some time the attention can stay with the breath without wandering off into thought or distraction. too much. And so that we are able to just stay with the attention resting, focused on the breathing. When it does race off, again, sort of reiterating the whole quality about not being, a kind of fascist meditator. When the mind does run off and chase after a stray thought, or we hear a noise in the street, or something that irritates, then instead of getting sort of frustrated or complaining or following that feeling of irritation, say, oh, okay, well, I've wandered off, I'm thinking about that car noise, I'm wondering about the dog across the valley. Okay, so be it, let go. And then with great gentleness and great patience, whatever it is the mind has grabbed hold of, the plan for next week or the memory of the holiday, argument with our child, just let go and then come back to the feeling of the breath again. So there's a kind of a realization that we've lost it, a kind of forgiveness, and a readiness to begin again. And it's no matter how many times we lose it, the present moment never gives up on us. It's the ultimate faithful companion that no matter how many times we wander off, it's always here for us to come back to. And so that we wake up, let go, come back to the present. And so that more and more, as time goes by, we are able to keep the attention steadily with the breath as it comes. And then we find that the mind will actually stay in the present moment without having to focus on the breath at all. The breath is there, but the mind has sort of given up its wandering, and it's quite happy to be alert, open, attentive, and accepting of the present. And this is where the focus then becomes not just on the breath, because this has really just been something we've used as an anchor to bring attention to the present. But the point is not just to become a sort of expert breather or to become someone who's kind of totally obsessed with the breath. But the point is just to train the attention to be with the present. And that when we find the mind rests easily with the present, we can let go of the breath as a particular object. And then the focus becomes that of the whole of the present moment. So there's like an open-hearted awareness of whatever is arising in the present moment. And so in the sphere of meditation, then we say that's the feelings of the body, the sounds that we hear around the room, different thoughts or feelings, emotions that might arise. And then the training that we use is just to let them come, let them take their shape, do their thing, and then they dissolve. They fade away. So this dimension of meditation is what we call vipassana, or insight meditation, because in this, what we're beginning to do is to simply train the heart to be aware, to have insight into the fundamental nature of all experience, so that we begin to see that in every moment there's an arising, an appearance, an abiding, and a disappearance of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, feeling, emotion, and that there's like an ongoing flow of all these different dimensions of life. They come, they do their thing, they change. But yet, within all of that, around all of that, there can be this quality of all-embracing awareness, this quality of knowing that is attentive to that, attuned to what's going on, but is not reactive to it, is not caught up in it. We are able to see clearly what's going on, and so be able to understand more and more fully how the heart gets entangled in the liked, the disliked, the wanted, the unwanted, the pleasant, the painful, the beautiful, the ugly, ideas of past and future, self and other. We begin to see how solid we've made those, and we're training the heart to start to let go, to not get entangled and identified with those qualities in the same way as we habitually do. So this is why we say insight, because we're seeing that we're continually fooled, habitually fooled by aspects of our world around us, or the feelings within us, or the way we perceive ourselves and others. And that when we look closely, when we use the meditation to, say, be very still and attend very clearly and closely to what experience is, and begin to see, oh, look at that, it's not that this is just something that's changing, it's just something that's fluid. Why should I bother chasing after that? That can't really satisfy me. Or why should I be so irritated by that? It's just a feeling. I don't have to make anything out of it. Aha! So that the heart becomes more and more at ease, more and more, unrattled by the flow of experience of life, and we become unreactive. But we're unreactive, but we're not numb. What we actually do is we become more responsive. So the lessons that we learn within the meditation of this in this way then transfer into our everyday life, so that we begin to be able to respond. So that when we are attuned to life a little bit better in this way, we find that, and when there's something to do, then we do it. If there's nothing to do, then we can hold back. We're not just sort of reacting blindly to something is attractive, so we go and grab it. Something is irritating, so we oppose it, get rid of it. But we're much more aware of our own habitual feelings, and then seeing what leads to benefit for ourselves and others, and what leads to harm for ourselves and others. So obviously, in the process of meditation, when you deliberately let go of the breath, and you try to simply practice this quality of insight, then it's like being in a boat. You pull up your anchor, and you think there's not much of a current, and you think there isn't too much of a tide, but maybe there is actually more pull on the boat than you realize. So you pull up the anchor, and then suddenly you find yourself drifting towards the reef. So like, okay, better put the anchor down again before we pile up. So in that case, what this means with the meditation is that we maybe let go of the breath and just try to allow the heart to be open to the flow of experience. But then we pretty much we find pretty soon that we're being swept up and caught into something that we initially were just sort of trying to watch that flow of thought, but then before we realize it, whoop, we're carried away and born into it, swept away. So when we find that happening, then we simply just pick up the breath again, go back to the posture, see how we're holding the body. Have we slumped over? Have we tensed up? Bring that quality of balance back into the posture, paying attention to the posture, letting the power of attention itself help to bring about that realignment. Focus on the breath again to help bring the attention back to the present, and to calm everything down a little, be more focused and attentive. And then when those qualities of stability in the posture and focus of the attention are re-established in the present moment, and you feel that stability is firm, then again you can let go of the breath and allow the whole mind field, the heart, to be open to the flow of experience as it comes, so that we're gently nudging towards this training of the heart to be simply open to the present moment, alert and aware of the whole flow of experience arising, taking shape and ceasing, without any kind of particular bias. But we're not being too idealistic and thinking, oh, I should be like that, or I want to be like that, or I am like that, and neglecting the fact that we're actually kind of caught up and drifting all over the place, and the mind is kind of chattering vigorously, and there's no real meditation going on at all. It's just what they call vipassana think, and the mind is sort of completely swept away in the whole sort of morass of mental activity. So we have to learn from what's going on. We have to judge for ourselves and see and adjust the meditation as we need, so that only we can tell. We have to realize for ourselves what the right thing to do is, and make those kind of adjustments. But we were slowly going. The direction that we take and that we set is going towards this quality of balance, of attention to the present, of a non-grasping openness, not grasping anything, not rejecting anything, so the heart is attuned to the here and now. So that's plenty by way of an introduction, far more than maybe is really necessary, but we'll have a little bit of a break now, and then we'll have a period for guided meditation practice. So please settle yourselves down, and finding a a posture that is comfortable to you, sitting on a chair, on a stool, cross-legged on the ground, cushion, however it might be, but just finding a way that the body can be well balanced, steady, and reasonably comfortable for about half an hour or so. And beginning, as I said, by turning the attention inwards into the body, and before trying to do anything with the body, just to take a moment, just to notice how we feel. How does the body feel? What's its mood? Heavy, tense, light, hot, cold, free from pain, uncomfortable, whatever it might be. Just take a moment to discern how the body feels. What are we carrying with us? There's no right or wrong way for the body to feel. It's just being acquainted with, getting to know where we're starting from. What's the raw material that we're working with? And first of all, bringing the attention to the spine. Just allow the body to straighten, not to be tense, rigid, tight. Just like a flower growing up, a tall redwood tree, reaching up from the forest floor. Naturally firm, strong, growing upwards. And feeling the body straighten and growing in this way. And just like a tree, it's like a tall redwood or a Douglas fir or any of these great trees that we have in the forests around us here. Just as it has its own central firm trunk, and then the branches, the smaller and larger branches that are arrayed all around it with the leaves delicately arrayed at the ends of the twigs. And similarly, we can look upon the spine as like the trunk of our body, and then just to let the rest of the body relax around that, just like the branches hanging easily along the sides of the tree, the twigs and the leaves, the needles. So around this firm central column, we can just let the whole of the rest of the body relax and be at ease, free from tension. And starting with the feelings in the face and the head, just to systematically sweep through the body and help support and sustain this quality of relaxation throughout our whole being. But first of all, notice the feelings, the sensations in the face, forehead, around the eyes. Is there any tension or tightness there? Just consciously let those muscles relax. And feeling the sensations around the mouth, the jaw. How does it feel there? Again, noticing if there's any kind of tension, tightness, the jaw clenched, and consciously let everything soften. Let any tightness dissolve. We can begin to feel this wave of gentle relaxation flowing down through the body, just as if it was like from the top of the tree, down through all the branches and twigs and leaves, and needles, out to our very extremities, this quality of everything softening, relaxing, like a wave of gentle warm light flowing down through the whole system. Down from the head and the face, down into the neck, to our shoulders. Consciously allowing them to drop a little, be free from tightness, softening, loosening. As the muscles relax and soften, just notice how that feels. What's the mood? How is that affected? How does the heart feel as the body loosens up and softens, melts? Following this flow of relaxation down through our arms, shoulders, the upper arms, elbows, all the way down to our wrists and hands, fingertips. Whatever tension or tightness, stiffness we might feel, just consciously letting everything loosen, soften, letting that tension dissolve, giving yourself permission to be at ease, not having to sustain any kind of anxiety. And coming now to the trunk of the body, feeling the sensations of the chest, letting that open up a little more, as if our heart area was like the bud of a flower, just letting the shoulders be drawn back a little, letting the chest be a bit more open, like the bud slowly unfurling, bursting open, the flower blooming. Allowing ourselves to breathe a little more easily. And following this flow of relaxation from the chest, down through the abdomen, solar plexus. Noticing how we often hold a knot, a ball of tightness down in the belly, in the solar plexus area. Our anxiety can live like this tangle of tension. And consciously let yourself relax there, let the belly loosen, spread. This is not the time for abs of steel. This is the abs of jelly. Just let everything loosen, spread. Be at ease. Nothing to hold in, nothing to tighten. And as we do, just consciously, again, notice the change, the effect that has on the mood when we allow the solar plexus to relax. What happens to the heart? How do we feel? Letting the attention then flow down from the abdomen, down to the pelvis, through the hip joints. Noticing any tightness, rigidity there. The thighs joining on to the body. Letting the tendons loosen, soften. Letting the legs drop a little. Then feeling this wave of relaxation flowing down through our legs, thighs, knees, calves, all the way to our feet, our toes. Soaking down, spreading down through the whole body, every corner, every inch. Letting the whole system be perfectly at ease, settled. Feeling the presence of the whole body, solid, calm, stable, easeful. So for the next minute or two, you just allow the attention to sweep up and down through the body, here and there. And wherever you notice any kind of tension or tightness has reasserted itself, maybe while we're relaxing our stomach, the eyes tightened up again, relaxing our knees and the shoulders snarled up. Just go back to those spots where you find any tension. Let the mind rest at that point. Let the power of that loving awareness just loosen the knots like a heat lamp. Stay with that area, let everything soften, relax, and then move on. So we're getting to know our whole body and training it to be guided towards balance, towards ease, towards relaxation. Our mind's tendency is to drift and wander. That's why we take a simple object to train it to attend to the present moment. So easily it gets caught, snagged by this or that, and swept away. So, of all of the feelings of the body, we simply narrow the attention. We perceive the presence of the body here in the space of our awareness, and then of all those feelings of the body, we narrow the attention down. So within this great sphere of awareness, we simply narrow the attention right down to focus on this little cluster of feeling, which is the rhythm of our breath. Not trying to change the breath in any way, do anything special with it. Just feeling the body breathing according to its own rhythm. Just let that simple pattern, that simple cluster of feelings, be right here at the very center of attention. Like the pattern at the heart of a mandala. Let the breath be right at the center of things. And for this period of time, just to make the resolution. Right now, I'm not interested in anything else, any great ideas, any plans, projects, worries, arguments, memories. All of that can be gently laid aside. Right now, all I'm interested in is the simple rhythm of my own breathing. All the rest can be picked up later if need be. But right now, for these few minutes, just let the breath be the very center of attention. And simply follow the feelings, the in-breath and the out-breath as they come and go, wherever you feel them most strongly, in the chest, or the diaphragm, the nose tip, the throat. Letting that rhythm be what teaches us, what guides us. Let the attention settle upon that. Gently, firmly, easefully. It's quite natural for the attention to wander. The breath is a subtle, unexciting presence. But just use this as an opportunity to practice kindness, patience. We fail, we lose it. The mind gets distracted, carried away by a feeling in the body, some doubt, some plan, some conflict. Off it goes, writing its stories. So, as soon as we notice that we've drifted off, the mind has grabbed hold of a passing thought. As soon as we notice, very patiently, very gently, let go. Let the out-breath just carry that away. Use the natural, relaxing quality of the out-breath. A sigh of relief, just release it. No matter how urgent the issue, no matter how exciting the idea, no matter how indignant the emotion, as soon as we notice, just wrap it up in the breath and release it, relinquish it, let it flow away. And then with the next in-breath, use the natural, energizing, focusing quality of the in-breath to begin again, to re-establish that quality of attention. So even the very texture, the very qualities of the breath itself help to bring together these dimensions of energy, relaxation. These qualities are twinned right here, demonstrated, embodied in our breath itself, existing side by side, just like the flexibility and firmness of a tree. Trees are firm and upright, strong. They also bend in the wind. They need both qualities. So when we lose it, just let go. Release whatever it is the mind has grabbed hold of. Come back to the breath. With the inhalation, just begin again. Start again. There's no criticism or punishment involved for the wandering mind. Meditation, in fact, is more of a way of learning how to fail perfectly, learning how How? To lose it. To recognize that. To let go completely. And to begin again. Nothing lost. No blame. Just glad to be back with the reality of here and now. Over and over, simply training the heart to recognize that quality of distraction, knowing it, breathing out, releasing whatever it is the mind has grabbed, beginning again. Now if you find the mind is indeed settling and becoming more steady, resting more easily with the breath, if that's the case, then we can allow the breath just to be part of the whole array of feelings that we're experiencing in the present moment. So just as we're focusing on narrowing the attention onto the breath within this whole vast field of awareness, just stretch that horizon, let that expand out again. So that we're not being particular about the objects that arise in the present moment, what we're attending to. Just letting the whole moment be the object of attention. Whether it's a sound, or a feeling in the body, or an idea, feeling of the breath, or the sound of my voice. Whatever it might be. Just let the whole flow, the pattern of experience, crystallize into shape, do its thing, and dissolve. So there's a flowing of perceptions, but yet there's this quality of awareness, the heart resting in this aspect of knowing, this quality of knowing. And then as different things come up and change, appear, just to reflect, oh, this is changing, this is not really me or mine, this is an image appearing in consciousness, a sound, an event, a thought. This is not really who and what I am, this doesn't really belong to me. It's just an aspect of the passing show. Being that quality of knowing, allowing it all to flow through. If the mind is too busy and tending to get caught up, then just stay with the breath. You know, if the currents are strong and the tide is pulling, then keep the anchor down. There's no there's nothing inferior about responding appropriately to the conditions that we're experiencing. Similarly, if you try to let go of the breath and the mind is swept away, then again, go back to the breath, put the anchor down. we're not steady enough yet. We have to judge for ourselves, but simply to be aware that if the mind is steady, the attention is stable, that we can just let the breath go into the whole flow of experience, and let the moment itself be the focus of attention, the whole moment, the heart embracing the whole thing. Grasping nothing, rejecting nothing. Receiving everything with affection, letting it go with compassion, releasing it. Please open your eyes and stretch your legs if you like. Call the meditation to a close. So you can see that there are many different aspects to meditation. It's a very simple thing in some ways, but can also be very involved. The mind can be very complicated. But also one of the important things in terms of attitude and the whole spirit with which we enter into meditation is that there's really no such thing as a good or a bad meditation. That sometimes, if the mind goes very peaceful and still and bright, then we think, wow, that was a great meditation. We sit here and we're kind of writhing in agony and confused and angry and upset and just in a whole tangle. A terrible meditation. But really there's no such thing, because the point is learning from whatever we experience. And we can learn from painful, difficult experiences as well as we can learn from peaceful and bright and clear and beautiful ones. So really hold that in mind, bear that in mind when you're entering into meditation or when you're using it, that just being patient with the chaotic mind, or just recognizing, wow, sometimes the mind is like that. There it goes. And even a crazy mind begins and ends. Those states come and go. So that we can develop wisdom, insight, even from the painful. Similarly, even if something is beautiful and delightful, we can turn it into a real problem by kind of parading it around or thinking that we've attained something, and then, even though it was in a way good and pure and beautiful in its beginning, we've turned it into this real headache and a kind of ego conceit. So the point is to learn from whatever we experience, whether it's what we like, what we dislike, what sort of seems to be beautiful or ugly. Everything will teach us if we let it. And that's really one of the main essences of meditation. It's what we learn from it is the point, not the particular states and things that we experience along the way. Another of the main principles of Buddhism is that nothing that is said is sort of to be expected to be believed in or taken on as being true out of hand, but the encouragement that the Buddha always gave was for people to take things and use things and see if they work for themselves, and if they do work, if they bring benefit for us, then to sustain their interest and application of that. And if they don't work, or they don't have any meaning, or we find them to be wrong, then just to leave them aside. So it's in that spirit that I offer these particular reflections and then all these classes in the same kind of mode. So whatever is helpful and beneficial from them, please take them and use them. Whatever is not beneficial, or you find is kind of confusing or just useless, then please just leave it aside.